guys, what's up? How's it going? We're back with another video, and this time we're going to be doing a deck profile. So you're going to see this in a couple matches, but I got a chance to play against a friend today who was playing Toru 2 right out of set 3, and this deck we've both been playing on Tabletop Simulator for about a month now. About a month now. And I can definitely say that it plays exactly the same way it does in Tabletop Simulator, which is the bane of my existence. Or should I say it used to be the bane of my existence, because now there's another deck that has taken over that spot. But yeah, so we're going to get into this card a little bit. Toru 2 is a card that you can play in the pre-release. If your store got the pre-release kits along with the proxy characters, or even if they got the actual characters from Jazzco Games for the pre-release, you can play this character right off the bat if you still haven't done the pre-release yet. Or if you're opening boxes or packs and you see this character, here's a good, way to build around it, or at least a suggestion. So with Toru, she is a 6 difficulty character, 0 on block modifier for mid, 6 hand size, 27 health. She is on the element of air, good, and water. She has an enhance, which reads, your rival's block modifier to block this attack gets +1, period. It gets an additional +1 for every 4 foundations in their stage. So think of her as a maybe better All Might 3. Where All Might 3 gets +1 speed or damage for each card in your opponent's hand, but if they have no cards in their hand, you don't really get anything at all, which gives you free hits, but it doesn't give you any free bonuses. With Toru, she's giving you +1 to their block modifier, which is like essentially free speed for the amount of foundations they have in their stage. So the reason why she's considered to be a better All Might 3 is because if you're playing in competitive play, a lot of people like to build bigger decks at 60 plus, sometimes 70 plus, and they don't care about building into deadlock, which is 11 or more 11 or more foundations. So with Toru 2, she's pretty much penalizing your opponent for going into deadlock without it being a deadlock enhance. Just the more foundations they have in their stage, the more it's going to take for them to try to block your attacks. So against characters like Cement Toss or Fourth Kind, slower decks that like to build more, Kirishima, Earth, or good type of decks, they like to build a lot, and they like to build all the time during combat, during their turn, during their opponent's turn, and she's just going to penalize them for doing that. So next she has a response. It says response commit. After your rival plays an attack, add it back to their hand, period. Look at the top card of your rival's deck. You may discard it. So how does that benefit you? For Toru, she's the kind of character where when you're playing, if your opponent plays, let's say, a 6 check. If your opponent plays not a 6 check, if your opponent plays a 6 difficulty card, then you're bouncing it back to their hand and making them check for it again. So you're increasing their chance of checking a 3 or failing the check. Also, if that attack comes in with any bonuses. So let's say you're playing against a deck that gives plus on check, then, like Tokoyami, for example, Summon Dark Shadow gives +3 on their next check, which is a modified check. She just bounces that attack back to their hand and says, no, play it again for reals. Play it normally, play it fair, stop cheating. So she's pretty much like the play fair character, and she's really powerful, especially under her elements. With air, she has a lot of offense at her disposal. With good, she has a very healthy mix of building and damage. And with water, she can just clog up your opponent's card pool and just really do a lot of damage, give a lot of increased speed, make attacks really hard to block on top of the block modifier. And she can just, on water, she can just wreck you if you're not paying attention. So getting into this, we are going to start off with actions because there are not as many actions as there are other cards. So we're going to start with 4 Flex Your Might. And by player choice, Flex Your Might is simply just a card for another card that works in this deck. So to read Flex Your Might is a 4 difficulty action card, which is why it's blue around the border. It has +1 on mid-block modifier. It is a taunt. It is on the elements of all, good, and order. And it has a passive ability that says, this card does not count towards progressive difficulty to play attacks. All right. So it has first form, which means this is the first thing you need to play at the start of your turn. It says both players may reveal 1 attack from their hand. If you reveal an attack with a higher printed damage than your rival, draw 2 cards. It also has a response. That response says, card pool, meaning this card goes to the card pool. After your attack deals damage, your rival commits 1 foundation. So it's pretty much a free stun when you do damage on an attack. And the reason why this card is in this deck is because this deck, or this version of this deck, runs 4 Mighty Punch. Mighty Punch is a 5 difficulty attack, +3 on block modifier. It is a 5. It is a 3 mid speed 7 damage attack. It is a Fury Punch with the elements of all, fire, and good. And it has the enhance of discard the top 4 cards of your deck. If this attack is not blocked, draw 2 cards. So pretty much she's already making this hard to block, right? So with Toru, you're increasing the block modifier. So this could be 3 speed to block, or it could be technically 6 or 8 or 9, depending on how many foundations your opponent builds. Depends on how much speed this card has, technically, when moving to blocks. So she's going to give this major incentive to be played, right? Because you don't want it to be blocked to draw those 2 cards. It also has a deadlock enhance, which is discard the top 10 cards of your rival's deck. Now you may be wondering why that would fit in this deck. She's already punishing you for playing more foundations. So if you're the type of person who just doesn't care about how many foundations you play, then this is going to hit you pretty hard. Toru is going to make sure that you pretty much can't block. And then this enhance is going to make sure that you lose a good chunk of your deck just because you're playing so many foundations. So it's like a double plus in this deck, and it fits very well. This deck is also running off of the good element, just to throw that out there. So next up in this deck, it is running 3 Back Alley Haymakers. Back Alley Haymaker is just one of those really good cards that you just see in all of these 3 elements: Earth, Good, and Life. It is a 5 difficulty attack, +2 on block modifier for high. It is a 4 mid speed 5 damage. It is a charge punch with EX2 and stun 2. It has 1 enhance that reads draw 1 card or build 1 foundation with a printed difficulty of 0 from your discard pile. So this is kind of what I was talking about, where Earth and Good decks like to build a lot, and Toru is punishing them for building. In their attacks and in their foundations, they love to build, and this is a staple in those decks. So using it gives you either a free draw or a free 0 diff foundation, which is really good. It has stun 2 to make it harder for your opponents to block, because that's the theme here. Pretty much just punish your opponents to make sure that they don't block as much as they can, right? So following that theme, next up for the attacks, this deck has 3 reverse throws. Reverse throw is a throw. It is a 5 difficulty attack with +3 on low block modifier. It has +2 speed for mid with 5 damage. I drew a blank there. I guess I'm getting tired. It is a punch and a throw at the same time. It has the elements of good, life, and order. It has the enhance of if this attack deals 5 or more damage, draw 1 card. And this continues on with, like I was saying before, you want to make it as hard as possible to block attacks, right? You want your attacks to go through, and this one is giving you a free draw for doing 5 or more damage, right? So making it harder to block means making it easier to do damage, which means you get free cards. Next up, we have a new card from the recent set. This deck is playing 2 Wind Up Punch. Wind Up Punch is a 5 difficulty attack, +2 on low block modifier. It is a 4 speed mid for 6 damage. It has the elements of charge, life, and order. And it is a charge punch with powerful 3. It has a passive ability that says if your rival has 8 or more foundations, this attack gets -1 difficulty and +1 damage. So the way these passives work is that they're always on as long as you meet the criteria. So before you even play a check, this comes in with -1 difficulty and gets +1 damage if your opponent has 8 or more foundations. Then it has an enhance that says if you have discarded 1 or more cards this combat phase, which is really good in Deku too, this attack gains stun 2. So again, like back alley haymaker, making it harder to block, right? Next up for the attacks, we have Invisible Infiltration. Invisible Infiltration at 1 is a 4 difficulty attack +2 on mid block modifier. It is a 3 speed low attack for 5 damage. This is one of Toru's new attacks from set 3. It has the elements of air, good, and water, just like her. And it has Breaker 2, but specifically just for Toru. So as you see, it goes by her last name, or is it her first name? Is her first name Toru, or is that her last name? I don't remember either. so Hajaku, I'm not even gonna pronounce it because I'm gonna terribly say that name. But it's Breaker 2 if Toru is your character only. I'm gonna move out so we can focus again. There we go. All right, so it has 2 enhances. The first enhance is this attack gets +1 damage for every 4 foundations in your stage. That is in your rival stage. Sorry, that is already insane. So she's already, as a character, making it harder for you to block. And then on top of that, this attack is getting more damage for every 4 foundations. So increasing the block modifier, which is giving it pretty much free speed. And then it's giving itself bonus damage, which can make this pretty powerful in a regional format. The next enhance says remove 1 foundation from either player's stage. After this attack resolves, the owner of the removed foundation builds it from the removed from game pile face up. So pretty much this is like what's called blink in Magic the Gathering. You're going to take a card out of the game area. So if there was a foundation in the stage, what you would do is you would just remove it from the game and then put it back after it's done. But you're removing an option from them to take out something of yours. So either you're removing their resources, you're taking out something that hurts you in the process or helps them. Maybe it might be something that helps them draw or gives your attack minus speed or minus damage or something like that. This card is helping you pretty much get in that free damage. All right, so very good card. It is an ultra rare. There is one of in this deck. There might be more than one soon, who knows, but that's where we're at for now. Next up for the attacks, this deck is running 3 setup strikes. All right, so setup strike is a 4 difficulty attack. If the camera will focus. That is a +2 mid block modifier, 3 speed high for 5 damage. There we go. It has the elements of good, life, and order. It is a punch attack, and it has 2 enhances. The first enhance is discard 1 momentum. This attack gets +3 speed. The next enhance reads, your next attack gets +3 speed. So like I was saying, again, following that whole method of making it harder for your rival to block. Next up for the attacks, second to last, we're running 3 heroic strikes. Heroic strike is a 4 difficulty attack +2 on mid block modifier. It is a 4 high speed for 4 damage. It has the element of good, life, and order. It is a punch attack, and it has 1 enhance. That enhance reads, your rival commits 1 foundation for each punch attack in your card pool. So this can be a very powerful stun attack. It doesn't say stun, but that's pretty much what the enhance does. So for every punch in your card pool, you're stunning 1 foundation that your opponent has. So if this is like your 3rd or 4th attack, you're getting 3 to 4 cards stunned, and then you can stack these. So you could play this one first, then play another one, and that's one stun foundation. Then when you play this one, that'll be 2 stun foundations. So that's pretty much stun 3 already. So this is a really good card just to remove resources so that your opponent cannot block. I feel like a broken record, but that's the whole point of this deck. That's why it's so good. All right, so last up for the attacks, this deck is running 3 hardened jabs. Hardened jab is a 4 difficulty attack +1 on high block modifier. It is a 3 speed mid for 5 damage. It is a punch attack, and it is earth, good, and void for its elements. It has 1 enhance. That enhances add 1 face down foundation from your stage to your hand. Build the top card of your deck face down. So once again, like I said, earth and good, always building. So this helps you out a lot. And if your opponent's playing this hurts them a lot because they're getting more foundations, hurting themselves, making it harder for them to block your attacks. But for you, this gives you more resources to keep playing more attacks. And like I said, that's the last attack in this attack package. But if you notice, there's a lot of 4 difficulty attacks, making it easier for you to go into longer strings. You have very strong pokes for higher difficulty at 5. And then your Flex Your Might, which is just pretty much a free card to play and gives you free draw if you don't block. So you can go really deep into your combos with having 4 difficulty attacks and 5 on pokes. So next up, we will talk about the foundations. First up for the foundations, we have 3 new training method. New training method is a great foundation. We don't need to really talk about this too much, but it is a 2 difficulty foundation with a 2 block high modifier. It is on the elements of earth, good, and life, and it has 2 responses. It is also a 4-check. So the first response is after you build this card, meaning after it goes from the card pool to the stage when you play it. So pretty much it should say at the end of your turn, but there are other ways of building this card for other decks. So after you build this card, build 1 foundation from your hand committed. So this gives you a free foundation after you build it. So while it's your turn or while you have this card in your card pool, if you build it down into your stage, you get to take a card from your hand and just put it down for free onto the field committed, which is just great. I mean, that's what you love this card for, right? Gaining resources and cheating in cards, pretty much. So the second response says commit flip, which means turn it sideways, then flip it face down. So commit flip after you check a foundation, add it to your hand. So what that means is after you're playing cards in your card pool, you have this in your stage. If you happen to check a foundation into your discard pile, you turn it sideways, flip it face down, and you add that card to your hand so that you can then play it. Or if you already have one of these in there and you have one on the field, you do that, and when you build this down, you get another free card. Just a great way to just build resources and, you know, add to you playing these long strings of attacks. Next up for the foundations, we have 3 One with Nature. Woo, that's shiny. All right, One with Nature is a 2 difficulty foundation plus 3 on low block modifier. It has the elements of Chaos, Earth, and Good. This is a new card. It has Enhance, discard 1 card. Your rival's block modifier. To block this attack gets +2. So you can already see how these two work together, right? Toru is increasing your block modifier per foundations in your stage, and One with Nature is just saying, hey, let's add an extra 2 onto that. If we can get it to focus, there we go. So it's just saying, hey, let's just add another 2 on top of that and make it even higher and make this attack even more unblockable, pretty much. Then it has a response. It says once per enhance step, which means once per attack, pretty much. Yeah, right? Once per attack, right? Yeah. So a fancy way of saying once per attack. After you discard any number of cards, your attack gets +1 damage. So in Earth, they like to discard cards to get increased damage or increased speed. Same thing with Good. They like to do that. So that's kind of where this comes from. That's more of the Earth and Good element for this card. But free damage is free damage. Putting that in a Tetsu deck will work out very well. Putting this in Deku 2 will work out very well because they're already characters that want to discard, right? All right, so next up for our foundations, we have 3 Specialist of Sound. Specialist of Sound is a 2 difficulty foundation plus 3 on low block modifier. It has the elements of Air, All, and Good, and it has 2 responses. Response: after you check this card, reveal the top card of your deck. So after you check this card, if this card was on top of your deck, you check it into the discard pile, you get to reveal the next top card of your deck, pretty much knowing what's the next card, so that way you can know if you want to play something higher or lower. And then it has the second response of Commit. After an attack is played, it gets -3 speed. So you have this on the field, your rival plays an attack, you go, -3 speed right off the bat, before anything else can be done, right after they've checked the card, or after they do their check to pay for their attack, just bam, -3 speed right off the bat. So you can already see how that works. Just really good defensive card, telling you what's up next, giving you that information and that advantage. Next up for the foundations, we have 2 You're So Obvious. You're So Obvious is a 2 difficulty foundation with +3 on low block modifier. It has the elements of All, Earth, and Good, and it has 2 enhances. The first enhance is Destroy, as in destroy this card. Return this attack to its printed speed, period. So that's the cost. Destroying this card is the cost. The first effect is returning this attack, whatever this attack is, to its printed speed. And then it has, if it is a punch attack, it gets +2 damage. So even if this is not a punch, you can use this defensively to reset the speed of an attack back to printed. Then the second enhance is the same thing, Destroy, which is the cost. Return this attack to its printed damage. Okay, period. So that's the first effect. If this is a punch attack, it gets +2 speed. So you get to choose what you want to hurt more. You get to return them back to their speed or damage that was printed on the card. And then if it's one of your cards and it's a punch attack, you get to choose if it's +2 speed or +2 damage, which is pretty good. Either one of these enhances is very good and just works out very well when you're playing the punch package in any element that you're playing it on. All right, next up we have 2 Passing the Torch. And this infamous card is known by pretty much everyone. But if you're new to the game, this is a standard card that comes in the rival deck for Midoriya and Bakugo. This is a 2 difficulty foundation. It's a +3 on mid-block modifier. And it is under the elements of good, life, and order. It has 1 enhance, and that enhance is commit. Either draw 1 card, or if you have no cards in hand, draw 2 cards. So while this is on the field in your stage, this is just a commit, draw a free card. Or if you have 0 cards in your hand, commit, draw 2 cards. Very easy. All right. For our next foundations, we are running 3 Cheerleader. This is the regional promo version. It's very pretty, very shiny, very glamorous, very Toru. This is a 2 difficulty modifier. This is also in set 3, but not this art. It is a 3 +3 on mid-block modifier. Sorry, got tongue-tied. It has the elements of air, good, and water, which is the same as Toru herself. And it has a passive ability, response. Oh, no, it doesn't. That is the response. I forgot. There was a printing error for this card. I forgot. The printing error was response was supposed to be in green. So it says response, remove. Remove is the cost. Discard 1 momentum. After an attack is played, it gains flash. So you can use this on your opponent's attacks, your rival's attacks, to just skip the enhanced step and just end the enhanced step straight away. This is a response. So right after they play an attack, discard a momentum and go straight to block. So that way you don't have to deal with hulking grimace, for example, or any other attack that you just don't feel like seeing it get multiple buffs throughout the enhanced step. Next up, it has a first form for Toru only. So as long as she is your character, whether if it's the first Toru or the second one, it says first form, flip. Both players build the top card of their deck face down. Period. Only playable if your rival has 8 or fewer foundations. So what this form is doing is it's increasing the foundations that your rival has. That way they have no choice but to take the penalty for you playing more attacks. That's pretty much what it does. Great card to have in this deck, honestly, and there's really not too much more I can say about it. Next up for our foundations, this deck is running 2 Hardens. Harden is a 2 difficulty foundation +2 on high block modifier. This is a staple in most of the decks that run these elements. So the elements are earth, good, and void. It has a response that says after you block with this card, your rival's next attack this turn gets -2 damage. So when you have this card in your hand and you play it in your card pool to block with it, if the block is successful and it stays in the card pool, then their next attack gets -2 damage right off the bat. And it doesn't have to be the next card, it's just the next attack played in general. So this card also has an enhance when it's in the stage. Commit, your attack gets +2 damage, or if it has harden in its name, it gets +3 damage instead. That one's pretty self-explanatory, but great card to have. You don't have to be running the harden attacks, but if you are, it is a definite bonus to just have it in general. Next up, let me see if I got this right. Did I mess? I could have swore there was. Oh yeah, there are. All right, so some cards got mixed up. Next up, this deck is running 3 self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice is a 1 difficulty foundation, also from the rival deck with Midoriya. It is a +1 low block modifier. It has the elements of good, life, and order. And it has 1 enhance. That enhance is destroy 1 foundation. That means it can either be this foundation or another foundation that's in your stage area. This attack gets +1 or -1 damage. So this attack meaning the current attack, whether if it's your attack or your rival's attack. You could either give them +1 damage to give them a minusing effect of a foundation, or you can give your own attacks a +1 damage, or you can give your rival's attack a -1 damage to make it, you know, pretty much easier to take the damage or just to soften the blow. Pretty good card, very good card in decks like these because it just is really good on offense and defense. All right. So next up, this deck is running 4 Manly Passionate Guy. This is a foundation that can be found in the first deck. So we have, the first set, sorry. So it was a short print. Oh, wow. I thought it was, no wonder it was so hard to get. So this is a uncommon that is also a short print, but there is the regional version, which is the pretty version. So you have the one that you can get in boxes and packs and the one that you can only get for going to regionals. So this one is a 1 difficulty foundation +3 on low block modifier. It has the elements of earth, good, and void, which is staple for Kirishima from set 1. And it has 1 response. That response is flip, as in flip this card face down. That's the cost. After you block with a foundation, build it face up. So while this is in your stage, if you block with a card against someone else's attack, you flip this face down and that block goes into your stage. So now you can use it for paying for checks or for resources or for getting bonus effects, however you want to do it. There are some other cards you want to build, like passing the torch, which gives you a free draw, etc., etc. Even, what was it? New training method, because once you flip this and build it down, you can build another foundation from your hand. So there's a lot of synergy with this card in the rest of the deck. And that's pretty much what that does. So there's really not too much to explain after that. Next up, this deck is running 2 high value target. High value target is a +1 difficult, well, +1 is a 1 difficulty foundation with +3 on low block modifier. There we go. And it has the elements of earth, good, and life. It has a passive ability that says, when committing cards to pass a check to play a block, this card counts as 2 foundations. So if you're going to block with a card in the card pool, you could commit this and it counts as 2 foundations instead of 1, only while blocking. All right. Then it has a response that reads, before one of your foundations would be destroyed due to a rival effect, pretty much like all of Shigaraki's cards, then destroy this foundation instead. If you want to like protect another foundation that you feel is more important, you could destroy this instead of that one if they chose to destroy it. But overall, that card is great on block because it's just really good to have +2 on your block checks. All right, next up, we have 4 Manly Friendship. Manly Friendship is a great card to have in any deck running these elements. It is a +1. It is a 1 difficulty +3 on mid block modifier. It has the elements of earth, good, and void. It is an ally card, which is a keyword. And it has the enhance of once per turn, this attack gets +1 or -1 damage. So we already saw this effect with self-sacrifice, but this one, instead of destroying a card, it just already can do it, but you can only do it once per turn, and that's per card. So if you have 4 of these on your field, in your stage, you can use all of them once that turn. All right, next up, this deck is running 2 Destined for Mainstream Success. Destined for Mainstream Success is a 1 difficulty foundation that is +2 on mid-block modifier. Come on, there we go. All right. It has the elements of air, all, and good, and it has 1 enhance, which is really good. The enhance says flip, as in flip this card face down. That's the cost. Name a card type, then reveal the top card of your deck. If the card matches the named type, add it to your hand. So the way you play this card is that while this card is in your stage, what you're going to do is you're going to flip this face down. And you're going to call attack, foundation, action, or asset. The way everyone uses it is when they flip it face down, they call attack because attacks have the lowest checks. So if you flip the top card of your deck and it's an attack, it goes to your hand. If it's not, it goes back face down on the top of your deck. And now you know what you have. So that pretty much makes sure that you're going to have good checks and that you get the cards that you want to your hand from your deck. Second to last for foundations, first of the 0 difficulties, we have Battle Resolve. Battle Resolve is a 0 difficulty foundation +3 on mid-block modifier. It has the elements of earth, good, and life. It has a response. The response says commit flip, which we talked about earlier. That's the cost. All right, after you lose health, gain 1 health. Most people don't use this effect. It depends on the deck because you can destroy it if you put this into a Bakugo 2 deck where you could commit flip it if you've lost health to gain health, then destroy it, and then play Back Alley Haymaker and build it back onto your stage. So it has some ways of being useful to gain health, but mostly people use it for the enhance. The enhance reads, commit 2 of this foundation. This attack gets +3 or -3 speed. So you would have to commit this one plus another one. It doesn't have to be that one specifically. If you have 4 battle resolves on the field, you can activate this effect and then commit 2 other ones. It doesn't have to be that one specifically. You just have to commit 2 copies of the foundation itself. And that's on offense and defense, which is really good. Last up for our foundations and last of the 0 difficulties, this deck is running 4 It Can't Be Fixed. It Can't Be Fixed is a 0 difficulty foundation +1 on high block modifier. It has the elements of all, earth, and good, and it has 1 response. That response says flip, which is a cost, flip this face down. After you commit any number of cards due to a rival's effect, build the top card of your deck face down, playable while committed. So if this is in your stage and your opponent says stun 2, you can use this to stun it, then activate the response, flip it face down, and build the top card of your deck face down into your card pool. So really good card for just anti-stun or just getting more resources, letting your opponent think that they're hurting you, but they're really not. And that's the deck, to be honest. Those are the foundations, and we covered the attacks, and we covered the character and the actions. So this deck, like I said, I've had a chance to be playing against this deck a lot. And honestly, this is a really good deck. I think this is a pretty good budget type deck right now. Well, like I said, right now, at least, where you can take this to your locals, or you can take this to regionals, or you can take this online, play this with your online provisionals or online tournaments, and just honestly wreck face and just make people want to rage quit and have fun at the same time. Toru is a great character. Toru 2 is just really good at what she does. And on top of that, all of these cards just emphasize what she wants to do, which is make it harder for your opponent to block, make them take damage, force them to make bad decisions, punish them for playing foundations, and also causing disruption with your opponent's attacks. So if your opponent plays that hulking grimace right off their first attack, you can be like, haha, no, take that back, try again. You know, it gives you something to pretty much just say, you know, let me take another chance to try to stay alive. But she's a very defensive deck, and I think she really benefits well in competitive play. Hopefully we'll see her a lot in regionals. She might even be played at nationals. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Toru 2 deck on any element get in the top 16, top 32, top 4, top 8. It would not surprise me. She's just really good. She's kind of an anti-meta deck. Like I said before, most competitive decks in provisionals and in regionals and possibly even nationals will be playing really big decks, 60 plus decks. They're going to want to build into deadlock because they don't care about deadlock enhances. They just want to be able to block everything and play as many attacks as possible, play all their good stuff, and have fun doing what they want to do. She's going to say, ha ha ha, you think you're having fun, I'm going to penalize you for it. So she's kind of like the first anti-meta deck that we really have in this game, that I would say for the My Hero format. You could argue that Eraserhead 1 is kind of an anti-meta character, but I think Toru takes the cake with anti-meta. So anyway, that's it for this deck. This was a guest deck profile from a friend of mine that he wanted me to share with the rest of you, and that I want to share as well, because honestly, Toru 2 is a really good character, and I think more people playing Toru 2 would enjoy the experience, especially if they want to make their opponent play fair and kind of just slow down the game to where you're playing at your speed, at your level, you're playing at your comfort zone. All right, so that'll be it for me. I will see you guys in the next one. Stay tuned for more deck profiles, and stay tuned for just more updates, more information, and more cards. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.